Hello to all my students. I'm back with the second part of the chapter, that is Nutrition in Plants part 2. So let's get started, okay? Okay, in the last video, we have already studied about autotropic mode of nutrition, which means that self-feeding, okay? Auto means self and tropic means to feed, so self-feeding, right? Now we're going to move on to the second part of the nutrition, or second type of nutrition I can say, that is heterotropic mode of nutrition. Now what is heterotropic mode of nutrition? Again we'll split this word heterotropic into two. Okay, so first word is hetero. Okay, hetero means, okay, let me change the color. That is hetero means, yes, hetero means others, right? And tropic means again to feed. So when organisms depend upon other organisms for their food to survive, that means they are not capable of preparing their own food, but they are depending on other organisms for their food to survive, those kind of nutrition is known as heterotropic nutrition. Now we will see the different types of heterotropic nutrition. Okay, so one is parasitic, second is insectivorous, third saprophytic, fourth is symbiotic. So here we're going to study each of these terms. What does this mean in detail in the next few slides. Now, since this chapter altogether is nutrition in plants, so we're going to see that how heterotrophic plants, okay, derive nutrition in different ways. So first type is your parasitic plants. Now what are parasites? Basically parasitic plants, these are plants, they live on another living plant, okay, and derives nutrition from the plant on which it is living. So the plant that derives the nutrition is known as the parasite, and the plant from which the nutrition is derived is host. So I'll just repeat this part again. So the plant who is deriving the nutrition from another plant, that is known as a parasite, and the plant from which the nutrition is being derived is the host. So here these two words you must be aware of, that is parasite and host. Now, some plants are also called partial parasite. Why partial parasite? Because they make their own food, but they depend on the host for water and minerals. Example is mistletoe. So mistletoe is an example of partial parasite. So sometimes if question comes that give an example of a partial parasite or what are partial parasitic plants, so you have to write that they make their own food but they are dependent for water and minerals on host, right? So these are some of the pictures given of certain parasitic plants like Rafflesia, Cascata. Okay, so these are some of the pictures given. Okay, I'm going to tell you about Cascata, which is a parasitic plant. You've seen the picture in the previous slide also. A bit more detail about it. Cascata is also known as Amarbel. So it is a non-green plant because it does not have chlorophyll. So obviously it cannot make its own food. So it is dependent on other organism for making food. It has yellowish thread-like stem. Okay, so I'll just mark the stem in the picture. So it is yellowish, these stem-like structures are there, which is actually twining around the plant on which it is climbing. So it twines around the plant on which it is climbing. Okay, and it also have a special structure known as hostoria. Hostoria is a special type of structure which peers into the plant body on which it is climbing for absorption of the food. So this is bit detail about Cascata, a parasitic plant, and how it derives its nutrition. The next type of plants are the insectivorous plants. Now these plants, remember, they can photosynthesize, so they are capable of performing photosynthesis. So now the question is, why do they feed on insects then? Okay, if they can make their own food, then why are they feeding on insects? They actually feed on insects to fulfill their requirement of nitrogen. because they grow in soil which is deficient in nitrogen. So they are feeding on insects to fulfill their nitrogen requirements. So you have plenty of examples. Here we can see pitcher plant is there, Venus flytrap, sundew, a number of other, Drosera. So number of other type of insectivorous plants are present. Now how exactly they work, how exactly they function in the pitcher plant. So I'll just give you a simple example of the pitcher plant, how things happen, how they feed on insects. Actually you can see the pitcher plant, this is a leaf which is actually modified in the shape of a pitcher. Okay, they are modified in the shape of a pitcher, and the apex of the leaf is actually modified into a lid. Okay, and there are hairs which are directing downwards. So what happens when an insect sits or lands in the pitcher? Okay, the lid gets closed. The lid gets closed and the insects get entangled into the hair, and then the insect is digested with the help of the digestive juices which are secreted in the pitcher. Okay, and then they extract the nitrogen out of it. So this is how these insectivorous plants feed. Okay, and they obtain their nutrition from other organisms. The next type of plant is saprophytic plants. So these plants derive nutrition from the dead and decaying organic matter. So they release their digestive juices on the dead and decaying matter, and these juices actually act upon, they convert the organic matter into a liquid form, and these organisms then absorb this liquid form and obtain nutrition from it. So this is a very peculiar kind of nutrition. You can understand that they are releasing their digestive juices outside. So that is something very, very important that has to be kept in mind. Okay, while you're writing about saprophytic plants, that they release, suppose they want to feed on a particular object, a particular matter. Okay, so they are releasing their digestive juices on that particular matter, which gets converted into liquid form. Okay, and then they absorb the nutrition from it. Okay, so this is actually the mode of nutrition is seen in saprophytic plants. The next category of plant is symbiotic plants. So first let us understand what is a symbiotic relationship, or what is symbiosis. What does the word symbiosis mean? Symbiotic relationship is a close association of two different organisms. And here both of the organisms are mutually benefiting from each other. So they are helping each other. So both of them are somehow benefiting from each other. So one example of a symbiotic plant is a lichen, which is an association between an algae and a fungi. So here both algae and fungi is helping each other. So they are mutually benefiting from each other. In what way? Let us see. Fungi is absorbing water and minerals for the algae, and algae is able to synthesize food for fungi. Right? So here you can see how both of them, are helping each other, and they are in a close association with each other. Now, apart from lichen, let us see another symbiotic association which is helping soil to get replenished. How? Let us see that. Okay, so plants, they cannot utilize the atmospheric nitrogen. The gaseous nitrogen cannot be utilized by plants. So what happens is that the gaseous nitrogen, have to be converted into a form which my plant can absorb. Right? So who does that conversion? There are certain microbes like rhizobium. Okay, let me highlight the word rhizobium. So there are certain microbes like rhizobium which is converting this atmospheric nitrogen into a form which my plants can use. Right? So they are sharing this symbiotic relationship. So it is living in the roots of gram, peas, beans and other legumes, okay, leguminous plants, and they are providing them with nitrogen in the form of nitrates and nitrites. Okay, and the plant is providing food and shelter to the bacteria. So here again you can see there's a symbiotic relationship, there's a symbiotic association between the bacteria and the root of the legumes. So they are getting shelter also, and simultaneously at the same time they are also helping the plant to get the nitrogen that they need in the form which they can use. Right. So, with this, the chapter gets completed, and I hope that all of you have understood the chapter that is being done. I've tried to make it in a very simple way so that all of you can understand it better. In case if you have any queries, any part you have not understood, or any part you want me to repeat again, okay, any queries, any doubt you have, please feel free to mention it in the comment section, and surely I'll make some necessary arrangement to do that again, to solve your queries and to solve your problems. Okay, and since the chapter is over, I will come up with a new set of questions and different type of questions, different categories of questions, and I will be uploading that in the channel too. So please have a look and try to solve those questions. So thank you all. So I'll be meeting all of you very soon with the next chapter.